Better late than never.
Stupid.
It began in late October 218 BC, where the Roman world would bear witness to one of the most incredible sights ever to be seen. It was but a few months into the Second Punic War when the great general Hannibal of Carthage marched an entire platoon of elephants across the Alps. This, of course, shocked the Roman people as they had never seen an elephant before. Because they're stupid. But what was more interesting than Hannibal's initial attack was the Roman response. You see, after witnessing an elite squad of commando elephants bumbling down their northern border, the Roman army set up a defensive wall of ballistas in order to take the beasts down. Hannibal, being the strategic genius that he was, had of course expected such a tactic from his enemy, and so charged the Roman front line with his cavalry, hoping to cause the ballistas to waste their shots on what he considered expendable soldiers. Following this, Rome revealed their secret weapon, a forward assault made by men rolling atop barrels of gunpowder, which the Romans definitely had. Carthage then brought out a defensive line of archers who fired live snakes, which Rome countered with its Valkyries. Hannibal offered ninjas, Rome sent velociraptors. By the end, the two sides were in a stalemate. Neither general could get the upper hand long enough to assure total victory. But then, without warning, in a stroke of pure strategical genius, Hannibal put down a fucking super peasant? Those are illegal units, you cheating bastard! Why do I even play with you?
War. What is it good for? Well, according to the early 70s R&B soul group The Temptations, fuck all.
Strategy games! Now, I'm not the best when it comes to strategy games. I usually tackle all my problems the same way, and that way is excessive force. I find a lot of strat gams a bit overwhelming, to be honest. Needing to keep an eye on all those numbers, having to manage multiple things at the same time, knowing what the fuck a bishop does. It's just all a bit much for me, but there is a game out there which might be able to find a good middle ground. A game that requires some strategic thinking without being too overwhelming. A game where you need to plan, but it's not 7 games of chess and a Mensa application all happening at once. A game which blends military science with total wipeout silliness.
Even the mud can't stop Dean.
Created by Swedish developers Landfall Games, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, or TABS, was first released as a pre-alpha all the way back in 2016, which for all the kids in the audience, was when I started MayRey. So yeah, this thing has been around for a while. I remember making it my mission to watch videos of this game wherever I could, whether it was Jacksepticeye, the Yogscast, or some rando I'd never heard of. I was super excited for this game, but sadly you couldn't just go on Steam and buy it. At the time, I believe you had to essentially just be lucky enough to be given a download link, so I never ended up playing any version of the game for quite some time. I remember checking the Steam page constantly for any updates on its release. In fact, I remember specifically it said the game was coming out in the summer of 2017.
And it came out in the spring of 2019.
So, obviously, it took a long time for this game to properly come out, but when it did, the improvements it showed were exponential.
But of course, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what even is TABS?
Totally Accurate Battle Simulator is very much what it says on the tin. It is a battle simulator which assures us in its very title that its level of accuracy is total. I believe the name may be tongue-in-cheek. The game is red versus blue, a tale as old as time. Both sides create their armies by placing down individual units on their side of the battlefield. When both sides have at least one unit placed, the battle can begin, and the two armies advance on one another, and when they clash, the results can be epic. Or hilarious. TABS is a sandbox game, and as such, there's no real objective besides to have fun. A novel concept these days. Although there are campaigns available for those who want to learn how to play the game in a more structured manner. You start off with a limited selection of troops, and gradually as you win more and more battles, you unlock new eras of soldiers to pick from. These can range from tribal, their words not mine, to ancient, medieval, pirate, bones, and we'll get back to this stuff in a bit. Now, that doesn't mean the latter eras are in any way upgrades of the previous one. True, stronger units like the Da Vinci tank or the Swordcaster are located in eras that need to be unlocked, but in tabs you can always find a use for early game units. Later eras aren't just the previous one but with higher stats, they aren't purely cosmetic changes to a simple grunt archetype. Each and every unit is unique and has their own strengths, weaknesses, and behaviours that transcend the eras they come from and work off each other in beautiful, chaotic ways.
It's not a sentiment I see all too often from the tabs community, but personally, I believe that in any given scenario, every single unit has a purpose. Yes, even you.
The difference between tabs and a lot of other top-down battle simulator games is that the focus is on unit-to-unit physics-based combat. Instead of simply being a group of soldiers who all fire numbers at another group of soldiers, and if the dice roll says they win, that group doesn't die, Totally Accurate Battle Sim gets right down to the nitty-gritty of a battle. You can go in with the slow-mo feature, actually see guys swinging their weapons, connect with an enemy, block, duck, evade, get shot! Shields actually work. It's not a defense stat that rolls a dice every time a unit gets hit with a weapon, it's a physical shield. If a projectile hits it, it reacts accordingly. Another aspect of its physics-based gameplay is that bodies don't just Yoda themselves away once they fall. They and their weapons remain on the battlefield. In fact, in some cases, you can even get huge body piles, much like what happened during the Battle of the Bastards in HBO's award-winning television series Game of Thrones.
I'll still never forgive you.
Now, there's a lot of depth when it comes to the units in this game, and with that comes depth in the strategies a player can and sometimes must employ. You have no influence on the battle once it starts. You can't change tactics mid-fight, so whatever you put down in the building phase, that is where all your planning needs to go. Knowing the abilities of each unit helps you place down the correct counter. For example, Samurai can deflect projectiles, so most range attacks are a lot less effective against them. The same goes for certain armoured enemies such as the Blunderbuss and Hay Balers. Some units, however, are incredibly weak to range, such as the Grim Reaper, who is absolutely devastating up close, but has very low health and moves incredibly slowly. Though of course, once again, it bears mentioning that the game is entirely physics-based, so if, for example, a bullet happens to hit a Blunderbuss in the face, he will die. He just has a higher chance of surviving range attacks because of his sheath. There's a lot more I could go into with how certain units play off of each other, but I think I've at least made my point clear that this game actually had some thought put into it in order to maintain balance. I mean, not everything is balanced, but another thing to consider is the environment. The game features over 40 unique maps to play on, and your plays will have to reflect the terrain and obstacles that you'll come across. A flat, open map, you might want to utilize some AoE attacks or spread your units out a bit. Tight, enclosed spaces, large units are going to struggle here. Does the map have pits, uneven terrain, or inclines? Then vehicles are not going to have a fun time, I'll tell you that. Horses count as vehicles, right? One thing I really like about this game is its undeniable charm. Its art style is very appealing to me. I love me some low poly goodness.
Oh yeah, baby, wiggle them triangles.
When you place down a line of the same unit, they all look slightly different from one another. This is mainly through their height. Some are shorter, some are taller, some of them are special. I really like this because it just adds to the randomness of the game, and hey, it's accurate. Some people are just different sizes, you know? Some people just got barrel chests. You can't tell me this doesn't happen in nature. The maps of this game reflect the art style beautifully, in my opinion. They all feel connected to the world and to the units you would expect to find them in. The medieval map fits the medieval faction, the ancient map fits the ancient faction, and each one is filled with Easter eggs, such as these dog statues you find in the tribal maps. Okay, so maybe the tribal faction worships these idols. The shrine makes that pretty likely, but you find them in other eras too. And what's with the ducks on the medieval maps? There's so much to explore, and you... Oh yes, I almost forgot. There are more than the standard units and factions in this game. There are secret units which you can unlock by finding items hidden around the maps. The locations of some of these can be quite obscure and unlock absolutely bonkers units.
Okay, everyone, let's make our D&D party. We're gonna need a mage, a rogue, ranger, healer, bard.
Turn.
There are many ways to play Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. The inbuilt campaigns provide a stable supply of challenging gameplay and head-scratching battle tactics. But one of the main features of the game is the sandbox mode, where you have unlimited resources and can place troops for either side of the battle. With this tool, you can do all sorts of cool stuff, like D&D boss fights, Deadliest Warrior, or recreate the Battle of Thermopylae. Please ignore the samurai. He's meant to be there. He's very integral to the story. You can even use Sandbox to play against people in local multiplayer, which can be both hilarious and seriously fun to play. However, if you're unable to play with somebody physically in the same room as you, the game features an online multiplayer mode, which, yes, is considerably more limited because polygons or some shit, but it's still an absolute blast. There's also the ability to set custom rules for battles, so instead of the standard last team standing, you can nominate a particular unit as the leader, making the objective for the enemy team simply to kill that one unit, which completely changes your battle strategy. You can add time limits, change the battle lines, even take control of units directly, which turns the game into a wobbly, loosely functional FPS. I mean, hey, at least it controls better than GoldenEye.
Oh, come on! Why are you booing me? I'm right!
Honestly though, it's in the user-created content where this game really shines. You can create custom campaigns and upload them to the internet for others to download and play. Similar to Mario Maker, you need to, of course, win the battles you create before they can be submitted, as to ensure that there's no funny business. And I ain't talking about that kind of funny business, if you know what I'm saying.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Custom campaigns often come with user-created story, whether it's entirely original, keeping within the game's lore, or taken from other franchises such as Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, or Zelda. But speaking of customization, one of Tab's most anticipated features was that of the Custom Unit Maker, which, as the name suggests, allows you to create units completely from the ground up, deciding what they look like, their weapons, behaviors, stats, and powers. With these tools, you could create almost anyone from almost any work of fiction, if you're willing to use your imagination at times.
This time we will do it together.
I was about to say that.
Your swords, please. We don't want to make a mess of things in front of the Chancellor.
You won't get away this time, Dooku.
I'm personally not the biggest fan of custom units. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against them as a concept, that would be silly. Obviously, it's great that you have customization options. However, I'm simply not a fan of how they can really disrupt the flow of gameplay when you're doing a custom campaign or competing against a friend in local or online multiplayer. Like, how do I plan a strategy for these units? They're not real. I've never seen them before. There's no guarantee of balance. You could plop down a unit that costs 120 points and it's on par with the fucking Grim Reaper. It also makes watching Tabs kind of not fun. I used to watch a lot of Tabs content on YouTube, mainly Angry Tom of the Yogscast. However, when they introduced the custom units, it kinda took a lot of the fun out of it for me. The roster didn't just get bloated, it got lol random. You see, I'm an analyst. I like to analyze the things I watch, whether that's sports, television programs, or competitive games like Tabs. So before the update, I would watch a game and I would know the units they were placing down, and I could comment on the strategy they employed, how good or bad their decisions were, my theories or predictions on how the battle might go. But now, I mean, how the hell am I supposed to know what a Nazgul, Abraham Lincoln, or fucking Captain Rex will add to the battle? It honestly just ruins what I feel might be a really fun competitive game. Don't get me wrong, the levels of RNG in Tabs is so high that any pro gaming league would laugh it out of the courtroom. Wait, is the game on trial? What the fuck is this metaphor? But answer me honestly. Wouldn't you love to see this game as an esport? Just imagine, huge international tournaments featuring players from around the world all vying to become Tabs champion. Think of the moments you could have, the clutch battles, the edge of your seat excitement as two teams are tied at 4 apiece, pulling out all the stops for the final battle to decide who is the better statistician.
Hello? What do you mean that isn't a real word?
Now, I can hear the naysayers.
But Lily, wouldn't a game like Totally Accurate Battle Simulator be really unbalanced?
Well, here's the thing. The game is actually perfectly balanced.
As all things should be.
Okay, so not every unit is as valid strategically as the rest, but in terms of competitive gameplay, you can absolutely balance this thing out. Remember Yogscast Angori Tom from earlier? Well, he has, slowly over many months and years, crafted a system for competitive tabs revolving around wheels. And it works pretty dang well if you ask me. It got a little too convoluted when he started adding wheels inside of wheels, but in the short and loose version, if someone loses, the winner has to place their troops first, giving the other a distinct tactical advantage in knowing what they've just put down and being able to directly counter it. If someone loses twice in a row, then they get to delete and redeploy their entire army using all the accumulated points from the previous rounds, which gives them access to units usually too expensive to place down on a normal turn.
Could be anything. Absolutely anything that's available. Zeus. Oh my god, Samurai Giant! Yeah.
So to reiterate, in order to get access to some of the most powerful units in the game, you would need to be doing badly. This is rubber banding 101. No, not that kind of rubber banding. With all that being said, I arrived to my conclusion that Totally Accurate Battle Simulator is a totally awesome experience. Simulator. Absolutely brimming with personality and charm, its well thought out and polished gameplay allows for both hilarity as well as serious competitive play. While I am not the biggest fan of how custom units have somewhat overtaken the beloved original units in terms of overall community usage, I can't deny the level of creative freedom it has unlocked in the player base, and I have to at least respect that. Even if I still have no idea why Abraham Lincoln can shoot lightning.
So, when your buddy asks you what you want to do together once you're both vaccinated, why not suggest this game? Because I promise you, you'll both have a whale of a time. Unless your friend is the kind of cheating bastard who would stoop to using illegal units, Hannibal!
Whack.
Hello everybody and welcome to the outro of the video. I know I don't normally do these little outro videos, but I figured considering how inactive I've been, you might want a little bit of an update at the end. So yeah, I haven't actually been doing a whole lot of video making. I do want to say sorry for not getting out a video in a long time. There have been multiple reasons. College has gotten in the way. Obviously last year I had my big brain upsie, which meant I had to move house. I started this video back in March, and I just would go weeks without doing anything on it. That's just motivation really as an issue, and my weekends were taken up with streaming. The point is, it's finished now, hopefully, and you can bet that I'm definitely going to start working on my next video right away. Now, with that said, I'd like to thank my backers on Patreon: Aaron Loralian, Bree B, Liz Lilith, Joshua Alexander, Kira Mitchell, Julie, Bryn, EtcGirl13, and Kath F. Thank you so much for sticking with me after however many months of inactivity. I am very sorry, and hopefully I can make it up for you by getting some more videos done. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like. Please remember to share it with your friends, subscribe if you have not, and remember to brush your teeth. I don't know. I'll see you all next time, and you can follow me on Twitter @TheTransHeel, and there's my other socials as well. I've been MayRey, and I'll see you next time, which will hopefully be sooner than this time.